Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new season of the Nona Sports Show. We're back for season 2, just like we promised at the end of last year. I'm your host, as always, Edgar Rodriguez. Pleased that you have decided to come back for a brand new season, and like I said, we have so many exciting things planned for this new year. 2025 is going to bring so much for us here on the Nona Sportscast YouTube channel. Alongside me, there's no change there, Patrick Deleon.
Hello, I haven't seen you in a while.
I know, right?
It's
in
been
the
like
studio.
A day, but yes, I'm super excited to be back here. Super excited to get this new season underway. It was a lot of fun last time. It'll be even better this time.
And if last season, we can kind of count it as a trial season, right? Season 1, it was like a quarter of a year. We did it for a few months, see how it went. It went well. It was a success, and we're back for season 2, and I'm glad to say that we are. So, this episode, we're going to talk all things, Patrick. We're going to talk Nona news, huge news again with our USL 2 players from last year. We're going to, of course, do our international soccer recap, and we're in January, which means we're in the transfer window.
Of
so, what are
course.
some fantasy transfers if we were in charge of the biggest club, which I think we should be, quite frankly. But anyway, let's start at the top, right? Nona news. We saw 2 players make a step up from USL 2 last summer who absolutely shined from the first game to the last. Let's start with Charles All. We've talked about him all season, right? Just when he came to USL 2, absolutely tore it up. He was in a league of his own. It was almost too easy for him.
Yes.
Where did he go?
He definitely stood out on the field here, and it's no surprise to me that he was signed to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds of the USL Championship.
Unbelievable.
Great championship caliber team. We were expecting him hopefully to get drawn during the MLS Super Draft. Unfortunately, we did not see that, but I think we both knew that it wasn't going to end there for him. So seeing that post, when you sent me the post on Instagram,
yes.
Pittsburgh Riverhounds signing Charles All, I think we kind of celebrated a little bit because he really deserves. He has the talent. He stands out on the field, and I'm sure he will be such an important piece to this Riverhounds team, and hopefully this upcoming USL Championship season, he'll have a huge impact for them.
And we were talking just before we came on air, the Riverhounds aren't just your random championship team.
They're a competitive team.
Yes. A playoff caliber championship team. They won the regular season, the Player Shield as they call it, in the championship in 2023. They finished top of their division. Last season, finished 7th in the division, again making a playoff run. And I mean that move is so exciting.
It is, because I feel like that's the dream of every player, no matter what. That's still professional soccer.
It's professional.
I've talked about this before off camera with you, how there are some championship players we've seen make the moves to Europe more recently. As I was mentioning the other day, it's possible. So you're very much in that path to go even further. He still has more time to develop, and hopefully this is just the perfect environment for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A fantastic season with Stetson, of course, set up by a fantastic season with Nona in the summer. He arrived a little late. I believe his first game was away at Inter Gainesville, and he joined the club, he joined the side, and everyone immediately gravitated towards him, and you could see the absolute talent level that he has, especially that game away at Florida Elite, our bogey team heading into last season, but he absolutely tore it apart coming off the bench. His first touch was a goal, and I think from that moment we knew we had a gem on our hands. So the best of luck to Charles All. I think we'll become kind of like Riverhounds supporters maybe, or at least followers of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds now, because Charles All, I am sure, is going to shine in the spotlight. Let's move on to our second player who made a move up from USL 2, of course, Ivan Ajakwa, led Furman, one of the captains, of course, to a SoCon championship this past season. Again, set the stage alight for Nona. Last summer, he moves to the Greensville Triumph in USL 1. Again, a team that made it far in the playoffs last season.
Right, and Greenville Triumph, they are somewhat of a newer side to the USL League 1, but they're already a prominent team in that league. So I think this is a perfect fit for him. Definitely still very competitive, just as much as USL Championship. Fewer teams in the league, but I think that makes it all the more competitive, more to lose in that sense, right? So Greenville Triumph, they did make it to the USL League One semifinals, I believe, last time
Yes,
around.
they did.
So hopefully with Ivan on the team, they can make it to the final. That'd be awesome to see our Nona boys win some silverware,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
100%. It would fill us with so much pride, as it already has done,
Ah.
seeing them make the move. I know, I'm on the verge of tears as well. But like you were saying, Greensville Triumph knocked out Knoxville in the first round of the playoffs, lost to the eventual champions Union Omaha.
Yes.
And you were talking to me about how in USL League One, like you said, it's only about 12 teams. It's a competitive field, and so Greensville will now have a rock in their midfield to rely on.
Absolutely. And we saw what he was capable of here. It's gonna be no surprise when he performs just as well, if not better, in Greenville.
No, absolutely. So the best of luck to Charles and Ivan. A great start to this episode,
Yes.
of course. It's always incredible to keep our eyes on the talent that we saw, the talent that we commentated on last season, continue their professional journeys. Let's move into the youth, world, right?
Yes.
The youth landscape. Our boys are back in action. Last weekend, the Orlando Soccer Cup was hosted at Austin Tyndall, and we had the 2015 Black Team, coached by Coach Seul, our very own, of course, win it all, Patrick. They went to the final of the Orlando Soccer Cup. Absolute demolition job in the early group stage games. We saw scores like 9-0, like 13-0. You know the talent in that team. The likes of Ricky, Ethan, Isai, Arthur, all of them. All of those boys. An incredible team. And he made it to the final against High Soccer Prospects. Fun fact, Seul's former team. That's where he started his coaching journey. And they won it. They won it 3-2. It was a tight match, back and forth. And until the very last second, you didn't know who was going to win. And so my job during that weekend was to record all the goals, keep the stories alive. I'm sure you guys saw it on our Insta. But Patrick, now we're going to react to the top 5 goals of the tournament for our 2015 Black Team. And we're going to start with this beautiful finish. This was the 3-1.
Yes.
The third goal of the final. Great finish into the bottom corner. Seul celebrating after.
Of course, it was a beautiful goal from distance. Perfect. No keeper is going to reach that.
No, absolutely. Right into the bottom corner, nestling it. A beautiful finish. And that sealed the deal, really, in the final. Let's move to the first goal of the final. Ricky driving into the box. High Soccer thought they cleared it. No, they didn't. What a finish.
Beautiful into the bottom left corner. Moving away from goal also. So that's some real skill to just, with the precision, to just nail it into that bottom left corner where the keeper just could not reach it whatsoever.
No, absolutely. That made the finish all the more difficult. Moving away from goal. How about this? From a corner, the ball evades everyone at the start, but then we pick it up far post and then finesse.
Beautiful.
Brilliant finish.
Beautiful. It just goes around everybody.
Yeah, the corner. I mean,
yes.
You think the chance is lost, but then they pick it up, and the beautiful finish to the far post. So, next up, from range, Patrick, probably my favorite goal.
Look at the footwork.
Top
my
corner.
Goodness, yeah. It just perfectly lays off to his feet, and he can just, whip it in from distance
and
into
it
that
was
top
laid
corner.
on a silver platter for him. Watch this
my
again.
goodness.
It gets better every time you see it.
That's an amazing goal. That's amazing.
So then this was from day one. How about some skill moves from Isai? A little pirouette. And then beats the corner
Slots it
down
home
low.
perfectly, yeah. Just drives through the defense. Oh, wow.
That was a
that was beautiful.
defenders.
Yes,
Wow.
that was beautiful goal.
Incredible goal by Isai and the rest of them. We had fun at the Orlando Soccer Cup. Next up for them, I think the big tournament coming up is the Dimitri Youth Soccer Cup. I'm sure you've heard of it, down by the Tampa area in Longwood Ranch. So stay tuned. It's not this weekend, it's the one following. So with all of that said, that is the end of segment 1. We have
Already?
covered I know, right? We have covered all of our Nona news. We did add a neon light to just keep the vibes, right? To keep the orange and our Nona pride alive on the show. But stay tuned, because next we're going to switch our attention to international soccer, give a little recap and also a little preview to what's to come this weekend. Don't go anywhere.
There. At Migaloo Pool, we make pool care easy, convenient, and hassle-free. We're your one-stop shop for everything your pool needs. Whether it's regular cleanings, equipment repairs, or even a completely pool remodel, our experienced team is ready to handle it all. You can trust us to keep your pool sparkling and running perfectly. Looking for supplies? Stop by our Orlando store. It's stocked with all essentials and extras to keep your pool in top shape. With Migaloo Pool, it's all in one place. Professional services, quality supplies, and a team that cares about your pool as much as you do. Let's make pool care simple and enjoyable. Contact us or visit our store and see how Migaloo can make a difference for you.
All right, Patrick, we are back for segment 2 of season 2, episode 1 of the Nona Sports Show. Once again, everyone, thank you for joining us on the season premiere. So, lots to catch up on, of course.
Yes.
We took a little, 3 to 4 week hiatus, right? We
About.
took a little break,
Right.
but we are back into the swing of things. So let's talk about 3 huge games that have happened recently. None other, to start with, than Tottenham 1, Liverpool 0 in the Carabao Cup first leg, semi-final. Surprise result in the end. We were watching this together and kind of thought, Tottenham, okay, they'll be happy to take a 0-0 back to Anfield. Maybe a smash and grab job away at Liverpool, potentially. But they take a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and I remember I did say that if there was a team that was going to score in this game, it's probably going to likely end just 1-0. Yeah. Pretty scrappy. Mm-hmm. And tell me about this goal from Bergvall. What happened leading up to this goal that made it so maybe controversial in some eyes?
Yeah, so he was on a booking heading into the last minutes of the game. I believe the goal was in the 87th minute.
Yes.
For Bergvall on a yellow card, goes into a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of Liverpool fans especially, thinking he should have gotten sent off. Looking back at it, did he get the ball? Did he not? He was definitely going for the ball. Mm-hmm. Was it enough for a second yellow? It's kind of one of those where you've seen the ref give it.
Right.
But honestly, personally, I'm not overly displeased that he wasn't sent off.
I think it could. It's just one of those calls, like you said, could go either way, depending how you feel about it. Right. It's always going to be hard, especially when you're already on a card. There's always going to be people that are going to be arguing against it for a second yellow, especially if you lose in that manner.
Of
course. But I think it was okay.
Yeah.
It's like it's on the line.
Right. I don't think it was overly egregious that he wasn't sent off. And look, fair play to him. He scored the goal. Tottenham win the first leg, and we were talking about. Heading into it, I almost had a vibe that it was going to be like the 6-3 that we saw in the Premier League a few weeks ago.
Almost.
It certainly wasn't, though.
Not.
Tottenham were a little more resilient. Liverpool didn't take their chances. And we were saying it would be the most Tottenham thing for them to have lost 6-3 just a few weeks ago.
To win 1-0.
And then to grab a 1-0 win. They head to Anfield, with the advantage. But surely Liverpool are still the favorites that make it to the final.
I would say so. I think Liverpool... Maybe a little bit of a wake-up call. I think they'll be fine. Yeah. Especially at home at Anfield. I don't expect them to lose against Tottenham.
True, very true. The second leg is in a few weeks' time, so who knows? Anything can change in that period. That is why the Carabao Cup semi-finals are so intriguing. In the other one, yes, my Arsenal lost 2-0 to Newcastle at the Emirates. Disappointing win. I mean, everyone, heading into the semi-finals, Arsenal-Liverpool final. The two underdogs, quote-unquote, are leading into the second leg.
Yes, that's very true. And look, me personally, I wouldn't mind seeing a Newcastle in the final.
As long as they win. If it's against Tottenham, as long as they win.
At the expense of Arsenal, I wouldn't mind seeing Newcastle go into the final. But it's not a result, honestly, I'm surprised by, to be honest. I was kind of expecting maybe... I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle would pull something off against Arsenal. I really wasn't surprised by it. I do think it's something that... I mean, Newcastle, they're kind of a weird team. Some years they're really good. Sometimes they're just on fire. Other years they're pretty bang average.
Right.
And I think this year's one of those years where they have really good form. Luck is on their side. Yeah. I'm not really surprised by the result, to be honest.
But that's a great point, though, because 2 years ago, they make it into the Champions League places. Last season, they had the extra load of Champions League game, the extra, because it does take a mental and physical toll. They had those incredibly emotional games against Milan, against Dortmund, against PSG. They were in that group of death.
Yes.
And we saw them suffer in the Premier League as a result. This season, back to no Champions League. And
Total focus on domestic play.
They have made the most of it. They're sitting 5th in the Premier League. They're, like we said, taking a 2-0 advantage to St. James's Park. And as an Arsenal fan,
That's going to
honestly,
be hard to turn around away for Arsenal.
It's an uphill battle. It's a Mount Everest to climb, really.
It is.
Especially with the atmosphere that those Geordies create up in Newcastle. So that's Carabao Cup taken care of. We'll see how the second leg, shapes up. We will definitely recap that when it comes. Let's talk about the Supercopa de España final. We saw El Clásico. Real Madrid beat Mallorca, and Barcelona also advancing against Bilbao, I believe it was. And then, El Clásico final, what everyone wanted. Barca turned up. 5-2 win in Saudi Arabia, Patrick.
Yes. That was honestly something I wasn't expecting. Well, I wasn't expecting that scoreline.
No,
at least.
absolutely not.
I wouldn't be surprised if Barca did win, 2-1, 3-2, 1-0, whatever. But 5-2 against this Real Madrid side that's on paper, right, is just stacked to the brim on paper. But we did see some weird formations with this Madrid team, players being a bit out of position or we have a friend that very vocal about it, but I think that was really what let Barcelona come in, break down the door, and just pop 5 goals past them. Because, you had Mbappe score the first 5 minutes. Already you're like, okay, this is going to look like it's going to go Madrid's way.
A walk in the park for
right?
Madrid.
Because it's like, they're already on fire. But no.
Instead it wasn't.
Barcelona just completely 180 it and just send all of their attack just straight through the defense, shred them. And this is the result we get. 5-2, Barcelona.
We saw some, I don't want to say a disaster class, but
it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was bad from Real Madrid.
I feel like for Carlo Ancelotti standards, really bad.
Yes, this is not something that he experiences often, apart from his Everton stint. We don't talk about that. That never happened for Carlo. But, the defensive frailties. We saw Tchouaméni at center back. Let's face it, he should be higher up on the pitch.
Right.
Lucas Vazquez, as you mentioned, Brian Luna, shout out from hitting the field at UCF. He doesn't think he's a right back, and for me,
I've never seen him as a right back either. Personally,
he's more of a right mid, even right wing,
right?
Almost. And it kind of draws similarities with Trent Alexander-Arnold. We see at Liverpool the frailties defensively. He's not a natural.
Great
defender.
Offensively, but defensively, it's a different conversation.
And unfortunately, as much as modern fullbacks nowadays love to bomb forward, you can't forget your defensive responsibilities, and that was the downfall for Real Madrid in the Super Cup. And we also saw an experienced center back, an experienced defender like Antonio Rudiger. You saw him 10, 15 yards away from where he should be. That shouldn't happen on the pitch.
No, but I don't know. It's always weird because when I was talking to you about this the other day, I'm always like, I feel like Madrid just never. They do win from time to time against Barcelona, but I feel like when they lose, it's always a bad loss. It's always like a really humiliating loss. Yeah. They lost 4-0 in La Liga earlier this year, earlier this season, and then losing 5-2 in the Supercopa. Losing 2 embarrassing scorelines in the same season against your rivals, your hated rivals for God knows how long. That's not acceptable. For Real Madrid, that is not acceptable.
And that's a perfect segue, Patrick, because I saw an incredible stat. I couldn't believe it, honestly, about that. So it's only the 7th time that in El Clásico history, like you said, over 100 years, that one of the teams has beaten the other by more than 3 goals in consecutive games, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
So this season, 4-0, 5-2. That's the first time since 1963 that happens. And for Barcelona, it's the first time since the 1920s that it happens. So it just shows you how rare of an occurrence it really is for El Clásico to see that gulf in quality in El Clásico. And, the saying is, Real Madrid don't lose finals, right? They always show up. But for me, right from the start, even when Mbappe scored, you kind of got the sense that Barcelona kind of wanted it more. And for me, I think it was more important for them. We've seen the drop-off in form Barcelona have experienced
in league play,
Liga.
Yes.
I think this trophy might be the spark that they needed to kind of turn their slide around.
I agree with that. Honestly, yes, because now it's like, okay, we can compete we beat Madrid in this final, a very talented Madrid side. And now with this confidence heading back into the regular league play, right, and Champions League, of course, now they have this motivation. Okay, we can compete still. We're not too far behind the league leaders, Atletico Madrid and La Liga. But we'll see if that really does translate to the actual play.
And we'll see, thankfully for them, right, Dani Olmo was able to get registered. We know the mess around that.
Yes.
Pau Victor as well.
Yes.
So for Barcelona, maybe things starting to trend in the right direction again for Hansi Flick, who has never lost a final.
Right.
7 finals in his managerial career. He's won them all at Bayern. We know how many trophies he won there. And then again, so he has, like we said at the start, Hansi Flick was always seemed like a good fit for Barcelona, and maybe that will translate.
I think so. I think it's translating really well so far, especially early on during the season, before they kind of hit that slump of form. I think it was already, you could just tell, this is a brand new, rejuvenated Barcelona side.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. So let's head back to England now. The last game that we'll be recapping today, I don't know what's going on, Patrick, but Arsenal lost again at the Emirates in the FA Cup.
Third round, correct?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. We lost 5-3 on penalties to Manchester United. The stats will tell you a different story. 70-30 possession.
I blame the ugly white jerseys.
It's cursed.
It's
cursed. It's cursed.
I
3
blame
years,
that.
we save it, and it's a great cause.
It is.
It's a great cause.
But time to hang it up.
But maybe we spruce it up a little bit next season. It's not working. But we'll always look for other excuses other than how we play.
Right.
But it's costing us not having a number 9. And I think Mikel Arteta is starting to notice that. We were looking at the sitters that Kai Havertz missed from 2 yards out.
You as a professional player, no matter what team you're playing for, 9 times out of 10, you have to score this. You are scoring this.
No excuses.
Especially if you're playing for a team like Arsenal. Maybe 10 years ago, it's a completely different side, not nearly as good. But now this is a brand new side. Mikel Arteta has truly brought this club back to that almost like elite status, right?
I would say so.
Almost there.
Yeah.
But what the difference between winning anything is having a competent number 9.
Yeah.
A true number 9. I've never seen Havertz as a number 9.
No.
I've never understood why coaches like to play him in that position in the first place. Because I don't feel like he can really produce the way he needs to be producing in that position. He just feels so awkward at times. It's like he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's the issue.
He's not natural. It's not natural for him to play up top, to be leading the line when it matters most. Yes, we saw teams like City play Salford. We saw Tottenham play Tamworth. We saw Liverpool play Accrington Stanley. This was Arsenal-Manchester United in the third round of the FA Cup. And to once again lose at the first hurdle in the cup that, we've won the most times. Arsenal are the record holders. To keep losing in the third round time after time is not the expectation, and it's not meeting the expectation. We saw Gabriel Jesus tear his ACL.
Yes. So that just adds more to the issues, right? Now you don't have the depth that you need when it's necessary. So we'll get into a future segment in a little bit that we can talk more about what we would do in this situation. But
stay tuned.
Aside from the striker issue, right, we look at the penalty shootout. What about David Raya? What about David Raya? What are we thinking there as a goalkeeper?
I'm lost for words, Patrick. I've never seen 5 in a row. It wasn't just 1 or 2. 5 in a row. And by the way, let me preface this by saying that David Raya has been one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, if not the whole of Europe this season. He's been exceptional for Arsenal this season. But I've never seen a goalkeeper, A, guess the wrong way all 5 penalties, and B, move so early.
So that was, I think, what everybody has been clowning on him for. It's just the way he would get just way too early. It's almost like how do you even explain this? Because you're a goalkeeper. That's like goalkeeping 101, right?
Wait.
You have penalties are tricky. Sometimes they
course,
feel
of
unfair
course.
towards the goalkeeper. I can understand that absolutely, but it's also just like a mind game and just being able to read the opponent's body. The attacker taking the penalty, he's waiting for the goalkeeper to make the first move. The goalkeeper's waiting for the penalty kick taker to make the first move.
It's a game of bluff.
But come
almost.
on, he was just going like he was giving that player an extra second to make his decision.
I would say 3 seconds.
Extra second or
I
two,
mean-
and that's all they really need is half a second. So they have even more space to let me shift my body this way because he's already going that way. Like, no.
And he was. It was bizarre.
You can't be doing that.
You can't
at that
explain
level. You cannot
You
be
can't
doing
explain it. I've seen pundits, former goalkeepers, also at a loss for words for what they saw. I don't know if it was the nerves. I don't know if the occasion got to him because, like I said, he's had a decent, solid season. I believe he's second in the list for most clean sheets in the Premier League. But penalty kicks are not his forte.
Not his forte.
And yeah, unfortunate, almost unexplainable loss. 26 shots. United didn't even reach 10. And you tell me, United had a red card as well.
Yeah.
And Arsenal could not beat a 10-man Manchester United at home. Self-reflection is needed there. Especially, you don't want this to become a rut now. You know, it's a big
It almost
part
feels
of
like
the season.
it's like teasing that it could be, and that they need to figure these things out immediately because you already see they're slowly have been dropping points in league play as well. You see Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea are right up there with them. They cannot let these opportunities go by, especially if you want to win a trophy this season.
Yeah, absolutely, which is necessary at this point. It's necessary. It's the only thing. Yes, the FA Cup in 2020, that's all well and good.
But that was 5 years ago.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly. A drought of 5 years, especially with such a talented team, it's something Mikel has to find answers for. So, okay, that was enough of that, Patrick. Enough of that. Let's move on. This weekend, we have big games all around Europe. I wanted to start in the Bundesliga because high-scoring Frankfurt, the likes of Omar Marmoush, linked to City, for example, continues doing his thing for Frankfurt. Ekitike as well, their striker, scoring a bunch of goals. Against a Dortmund side who went to Holstein Kiel.
Lost 4-2 away.
How?
A relegation fighting Holstein Kiel.
Probably will.
Will be potentially.
Probably.
And look, this is just Dortmund are just the Tottenham of Germany. So
I told you that.
Yes.
I told you that, and at first you didn't sound convinced. But now I think you understand where I was coming from.
Because I mean, for me, it's just so disappointing. Because like they've had such good players in recent years. They've had on paper they're a competent and good squad. On paper, they should at least. I'm not saying they should be winning the league every year, but they should at least be easily competing for Champions League. You're in Germany. You're one of the German giants.
Yep.
You have to be doing that. You can't be in 9th place now, and now you have to play 3rd place Frankfurt away. I believe
it is away.
So that just makes your life so much harder because you can't get the results you need against the opponents. You know the results are easily capable of obtaining.
Right.
Right.
No, it makes no sense. Yeah. It's mind-boggling. We already saw them change their manager. They went with Nuri Sahin. Got off to an okay start. Now it's like a bumpy road. And I saw rumors of Eric Ten Hag potentially getting the Dortmund off. I'm just gonna put that on the table, Patrick.
But I guess it's like
I think that highlights how bad the situation is.
Maybe, but I also feel like just the Bundesliga and Dortmund is so much different than the Premier League and Manchester United.
100%.
If he can perform as he did at Ajax, okay, sure. but
there was
it's
something
completely Ajax is the or was the giant of the Netherlands. So
something has happened since Eric Ten Hag left the Netherlands, and it wasn't too good. Let's leave it there. Predictions?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say like 3-1 Frankfurt.
I agree.
I don't really see Dortmund getting a result.
I think Frankfurt win by at least 2 in this one. Dortmund are in the slide, and I don't think it ends here.
If you can't tell, I do like Dortmund. So
it's your turn to suffer now. I have to talk about 2 Arsenal losses. Let's go to Italy. An interesting title race continues to brew in Serie A.
Yes.
We have 2 big games. Let's start with Juve Milan. We saw Juve draw.
Unbeaten still.
Yeah, but at this
With
point,
12, 13 draws?
at this point, I almost feel like lose a couple games and win more. Like, you know what I mean? At home against Milan. How do you see this one going?
Oh, I think it's going to be a close game,
Yeah.
honestly. It could probably end in another draw for Juventus.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because Milan are also doing pretty good. Could be doing better at some
No, of
times for
course.
sure. That's Milan, also one of those teams where we've seen them do years past a lot better. Recently, they've been okay for Milan standards.
Right.
They've been okay.
Yes.
Slowly, I feel like they're kind of getting back on the come up, right? Important players. They have such a well-rounded squad. Rafael Leao, new manager, of
Sergio
course.
Conceição, did you see his celebration?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Living it up.
Christian Pulisic, of course, has been on fire. He did get subbed off their last game, whether it was a precaution or a minor injury, and he just came back from another injury too.
Gotta be careful there.
So yes,
had a
and
great season.
he has, but he's very injury prone.
No,
that's
we know that,
always the issue, right? But he's been phenomenal for Milan, not just this season, but last season as well. But he's easily cemented himself as one of the best players for Milan, and probably in Italy this season already.
I don't think you can debate that. He has had a great season, and I think he needed it, right?
Yes.
After a few, last season injuries, destroyed his season really.
Not
completely.
But he still had probably a record year then.
Right.
And this year he's already probably going to finish with even better numbers. Yeah, but of course, injuries. If you just stay healthy, but of course, he's just made of glass.
It's tough. It's tough.
It is tough.
Let's move to the second big game in Italy. It's a big weekend, like I was saying. Atalanta-Napoli. Now, we saw Atalanta had the chance against Lazio a few weeks ago to, properly challenge to, get potentially in first place in Serie A. They drew against Lazio. Now they drew against Juve. Now they have Napoli, who, again, under Antonio Conte, have had a great season. Tight matchup there, hard to call.
It is. Truly, I think the Serie A has been one of those leagues where
you just don't know what's
don't really know what's
happening.
going to go, happens, because I feel like there's just so much movement, or maybe the table standings look like it's going to go one way, but the reality is I feel like there's too much at the top right now that I don't really know who could really win the league this year.
Yeah.
Napoli, Atalanta, also really good players on both sides.
Kvaratskhelia leaving Napoli to PSG, so potentially maybe
could
Napoli
really
losing
impact.
talent there.
Could absolutely impact their season if they can't figure out, I guess, the depth or how to replace them up top in a successful way, right? To keep maintaining that good form that they have right now under Antonio Conte. But we'll see how much of an impact that has in a few weeks.
No, absolutely. Undoubtedly, a big talent.
Oh, yeah,
Kvaratskhelia
absolutely.
Finally getting his move. Antonio Conte said he'd wanted to leave for a while. Leaves PSG to PSG. So, big Serie A weekend coming up. Keep your eye on those results. Of course, we will be recapping these games on the next episode. But let's finish off this segment, Patrick. Brentford, Liverpool.
Yes.
Now, both of these teams last weekend, interesting games. Actually midweek even. Brentford against City. They had a home game against City, 2-0 down, heading into the 80th minute.
Yeah.
They somehow found a way to claw back 2-2. They could have even won it 3-2 potentially, and Buemo got a shot cleared off the line. So Brentford heading into this with a bit of confidence, right? Liverpool couldn't beat Forest for the second time this season, 1-1 at the City ground. So now both of these two teams meet. Such an intriguing matchup here.
I don't think it'll be as close.
No, you think Liverpool?
I think Liverpool will take it. I mean,
Wow.
because Liverpool, they're still a phenomenal team. Mohamed Salah, again, I will say this as many times as I need to. He's just been absolutely phenomenal.
Don't go to
all
Saudi.
year.
Don't go to Saudi, Mo. Stay at Liverpool.
Stay at
As an Arsenal
Liverpool,
fan, I'm telling
man.
him
Give
to
him the
stay at
money.
Liverpool.
Give him the
Yeah.
money. Like, he absolutely deserves it. He does not look like he's aging one bit. And unfortunately for Brentford, I don't think they'll be able to stop him this next matchup. Liverpool, they're just too good. Not just him, but their entire offense, midfield, defense. It's such a beautifully well-rounded team under Arne Slot. He's just I think he's completely blown the expectations from before the season even started off the roof.
Absolutely.
He's done such an amazing job. I don't think Brentford are gonna have a great time.
They had no expectation with Arne Slot.
Right.
You know, new manager.
Maybe a transition year. Okay,
Yeah.
fight for a Champions League spot.
But no.
League title.
He went straight in, and they are in a brilliant position in
Right.
the Premier League to potentially take it at the first time of asking for Arne Slot. But let's put our heads on the line here, Patrick. We think Frankfurt will beat Dortmund.
Yes.
Juve Milan.
A draw.
Draw?
1-1.
1-1.
Yeah.
Okay, I think if there's a winner there, I'm saying Milan away from home. Potentially. Atalanta Napoli?
I'm gonna go Napoli.
Yeah,
Napoli.
I agree. I
I'm
think
gonna have to go with
Napoli,
Napoli.
even with the loss of
I think
Kvaratskhelia,
they'll be okay.
I think
They'll grind it out. It'll be a grind, but I think they'll just edge Atalanta.
And then you think Liverpool will win.
Yes.
At the G10.
Yeah.
I'm going to go draw.
Really?
Fingers crossed. I do think Brentford can pull it off. They've been one of the best home sides
True.
in the Premier League. Arsenal went there and won. But we saw, City got pegged back. Yes, we know it's not the same City as old. But Liverpool coming off the draw against Forest. It's another tricky away day for Liverpool. So keep your eye on all of those games and more this weekend. But Patrick, that's enough for segment 2. Let's finish this off with a little bit of a fantasy transfer segment. Don't go anywhere because we have some potentially hot takes coming up.
Something new, something fresh. Yeah, I'm super obsessed. Let me know when you done messing. A little that, a little this, then you put it to the test. It's all in the expression. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. And now I want it more. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. Okay, you got the floor. It's looking good. I kinda like that.
Alrighty, and just like that, we're at the end of Season 2, Episode 1 of the Nona Sports Show. Thank you guys for staying tuned. It's been a fun one, Patrick, so far. But like I said at the start, we're in January. It is the winter transfer window, and it's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, I would say. We have seen Kvaratskhelia again to PSG. We've seen Malen go from Dortmund to Villa. That's probably the biggest move, along with the Napoli to PSG transfer. But now, pretend like we are the owners of some of the clubs around Europe. That's okay. It doesn't cost anything to dream. Let's see what we think some fantasy transfers that we would make, right? That we think would make some teams better. Patrick, which one do you want to start with?
So, I have Alexander Isak from Newcastle. Originally, I was going to say Manchester City. I do think that he would be a good fit there.
Okay.
But I'm also going to throw in Arsenal. Because we were just talking about having a number 9.
Yep.
Isak has been phenomenal at Newcastle. He had a great time in Spain as well, when he was playing there.
Yeah.
I do think he would fit both Manchester City or Arsenal pretty well. Surely at City, he'd probably be behind Haaland. But I think he would have a pretty impactful role. Same as Julian Alvarez when he was there at City before he went to Atletico Madrid, right? I think he would have a similar role to Alvarez at Manchester City. I think he would be a great backup. Or 2 at the top if Pep ever feels like playing that way, right? Arsenal, on the other hand, he's going to be an immediate lock, I think. I feel like that, realistically, I feel like that has a more chance of happening. Isak to Arsenal, especially just because we were talking about Jesus out for a while.
Yeah.
Havertz. I think Isak would thrive at the number 9 at Arsenal and really propel them to even another level of competitiveness. I think that makes sense.
Oh, well, dude, I would give everything to get Isak to North London as soon as possible. He's great, and we saw in the Carabao Cup game goal and an assist away at the Emirates. That was his audition.
That almost felt you could take it that way in an audition.
Absolutely, if that was a sign to grab him from Newcastle,
Grab him.
Absolutely. And yes, Newcastle are having a great season. And would he want to move? That's a question to be asked, right?
Right.
Does he want to move now?
Maybe not now, but potentially in the summer.
Yeah.
Realistically, it would probably come in the summer if he were to move.
A rumor I did see, not so much a fantasy transfer, but Vlahovic always gets linked to Arsenal.
That's true. I think
Probably a more realistic option in January if they are going to sign a number 9.
I remember you even mentioned Mbeumo from Brentford.
Absolutely, yes.
I feel like any of these guys would be a pretty good fit.
Anyone, please.
For sure.
Arsenal, do your thing. We need a number 9. But Isak, yeah, definitely at the top of the
I think
list.
Isak is perfect.
But I think the City link that you made is interesting because it's almost like I think they've missed Julian Alvarez. We've seen how good he's been for Atletico this season. And I think, yes, they got Haaland and they threw all their eggs in the Haaland basket. But this season, he's not having the 40 goals, you know. That
and he's still performing, but it's
He
just
is,
not the
to
Haaland,
his
like,
standard.
oh, right.
Yes.
But that's why I'm saying he would have a role like
Absolutely.
Alvarez if you were to
I
go
like
to
it.
City,
I like it.
in my eyes.
My first one,
Mhm.
Patrick, is Morgan Rogers. Now,
Ooh,
I
yes.
have talked to you about
Yes.
how much I love this player for Villa.
Yes,
In the
he's so much
midfield.
fun to watch. He
Oh,
really
He
is.
takes the ball, you know, sometimes in his own
He
half.
just glides
and
with it.
drives.
Just glides, flies away with the ball. It's
and the
beautiful.
defenders just kind of bounce off him. He's so good.
It's fun, yeah.
So good. He's been also scoring a lot of goals as well. I think him to City, honestly. If City were looking to bolster the midfield, which they need, right? Of course, he's not the defensive Rodri type.
No.
But I think Gundogan, Kovacic, you know, it's been tough for them in the midfield. Nunez as well.
And you have to think about it. These guys are also aging. A lot of the
Rapidly.
players in the
Yeah.
City midfield are
Mhm.
aging.
De
So
Bruyne.
De Bruyne,
Yeah.
yes, they're all
Bernardo
aging. They
Silva.
definitely need
All of them.
fresher, a little bit younger reinforcements in that midfield, because if you don't have a competent midfield, you have no cohesion between the offense and the defense. There's no link there. You're going to get nothing done, and that's why they're suffering so much right now.
They don't have their, like you said, the guy who, you know, pulls the strings, which is Rodri usually. Will Villa want to, you know...
Jack Grealish-esque signing right there.
Right.
I feel like.
Another one, I think it's unlikely,
Mm-hmm.
but, I mean, that is definitely a player that, not just City, but the biggest European sides are going to be looking at. He
I
has
think
had
so.
a breakout season, but it will be tough to lure him away from the Midlands. How about your second one? You went a little sentimental here.
I
and
did.
And I kind of see it happening.
Because
to be
I've been
honest.
seeing a lot of talks for the longest time of Kyle Walker trying to... I think he's trying to hang up the boots soon, so he's wanting to leave Manchester City.
Yeah.
So, I would say, why not go back to Tottenham?
Wow.
You know? Why not go back to Tottenham?
Yeah.
Because it ended there, you know. I know there's been rumors of him maybe wanting to look at Saudi Arabia. But why not go back to Tottenham? You know, because I do think he's still a pretty good player. Still,
I think there's
you
something
know,
in there.
they're still
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
At least, you know, he's already won everything.
Mhm.
He's won the Club World. He's won the Premier League. How many times?
Right.
He's won Champions League. I think he can relax now. You know, he's what, 34, 35.
Yeah.
I think he can play a season or two, similar to like what Gareth Bale did after Madrid, Tottenham, right?
Yeah.
And then from Tottenham to LAFC,
True.
right?
Wow.
But
yeah.
you know, really random. But only played like half a season.
know,
But
that
he
was
won
so
the league
weird.
with them. He
Yep.
scored in the
Hey.
final. But Kyle Walker, I think it would be good to go back to Tottenham. Kind of just, I think hang it up there would be perfect.
They've had defensive injuries as well. I don't see why not.
I don't see why not. And it's a veteran piece.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to start every game, but he could be easily in a leadership role.
Yep, he made his name at Tottenham. I kind of like that. I kind of like that move. Not so much a fantasy transfer this next one, but one that has always been talked about. Maybe too much.
Mhm.
Trent Alexander-Arnold to Madrid.
Here we go. Again.
I don't think it'll happen in January, quite frankly.
Right.
But, that being said, Real Madrid, like we said, are going to get him eventually. I feel like it's an Mbappe.
It's just one. It's another like
It's an
Mbappe
Mbappe
saga, right?
2.0. And, you know, if you're looking at it from a Liverpool perspective, you have Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, and TAA all running out of contracts. And if you're going to keep two out of those three, I don't think it's even a question that it has to be Salah
Has
and,
to be.
and Van Dijk.
It has to be Salah. Of course. That's not even a question.
Not even a question.
Van Dijk. I'm indifferent about.
Wow.
I've always been a bit indifferent about him. But out of those three, keep those two.
Yeah.
Alexander Arnold, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But I think it's time for him to move on a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
something more. You know, nothing wrong with Liverpool. Liverpool's a huge historic club.
Right.
But Real Madrid, I mean, it's Real Madrid. If he could easily push for that move, I feel.
I think so. And don't be surprised if you see it in the summer. January seems a little tough. Liverpool
Yeah.
already did reject.
I'm sure he wants
a
to
proposal
at
from
least
Madrid.
finish out the season. If
Yeah.
he were to leave, he wants to win the Premier League.
Yeah, leave
Again,
on a high. He
you
is
know,
a
leave on a
Liverpool
high.
boy, right? And
course.
he already accomplished that dream of playing for Liverpool. Will he be a one-club man? I don't see it. I think the Real Madrid move does go through in the summer, though, not this winter. Let's finish off with, the definition of a fantasy transfer. We keep talking about the difficulties Arsenal have had in the final third. Nico Williams. He didn't go to Barcelona. Get him over to England, Patrick. What do you think about that one?
I think that's a pretty good one, too, as well, because you look at Martinelli, he's been a bit off.
Yes.
The
last couple years, yes.
He's been a bit off, so I think out on the wing, Nico Williams would be a pretty good fit, not just for Arsenal, but for Premier League in general. I feel like he'd be really fluid on the sideline. I actually like that. I could definitely see that happening if you were in charge.
Listen to this, Patrick, because I'm already thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's listen to this midfield trio and front three.
Mm-hmm.
Ready? Rice,
Yes.
Zubimendi, who might be coming in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So Rice, Zubimendi, and Odegaard.
Mm-hmm.
And then from left to right, Williams, Isak, Saka.
Ugh.
We're playing Football Manager, but I mean,
But like
I'll sign up for it.
Right. I mean, that's a really, really strong line. If that were to really happen, oof, there's no way Arsenal could not
Right. There would be no excuses then for the Premier League title.
for anything.
No. For anything. Champions League even.
Yeah.
Don't let me get ahead of
Like,
myself.
I think maybe
but,
but it's just like I feel like
yeah.
maybe it is a fantasy transfer though.
I mean, that is what
unfortunately,
this segment was.
right? But maybe it really.
I let myself loose there. But
Maybe you got to pick one. Pick one.
all of them. We need them all. I'll be greedy on that front. But I think that's the end, Patrick. Fantasy transfers was fun. Maybe we see in a couple weeks' time how the window has progressed, and maybe we give our shouts because we always know the last week, even deadline day, there's always room for some surprise moves, right? So we'll see how the January window continues progressing, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it for episode 1, Patrick. We made it to the end, a new season. How are we feeling at the end of
That was
episode 1?
fun. That was so much fun. So much to talk about.
Yeah, so
and there's
much.
even more to come for the rest of the season, especially as we close out the domestic leagues in Europe. We'll start talking about who's being crowned champions.
Right.
What are we at? It's gonna be so much fun.
And then over the summer, of course, USL 2. That is going to be an insane couple months there. So much to look forward to. I cannot stress that enough. This season on the Nona Sports Show, we're going to give it our all, and we're going to have so much fun all year long. But from Patrick, from myself, thank you for joining me once again. We will see you next week. Remember to stay tuned for the podcast, which will be coming out this weekend. So much fun content coming your way.